Thought Experiment 1. Designer Genes. In biology. Source organism, apple. Target organism, bananas. Bananas are one of the fruits that can over-ripen and spoil easily. It can ripen immediately in less than a week's time. By modifying bananas to have apples long shelf life of almost up to 6 months refrigerated, its ripening process can be significantly slowed down and be given a long shelf life as well. Both fruits can be refrigerated to store them for longer without having them spoiled. Apples have a lower glycemic index and are lower in calorie, carbohydrates, and total sugars, as well as being richer in vitamin K. On the other hand, bananas are richer in potassium, magnesium, manganese, vitamin C, B6, A, and folate. They have similar amounts of dietary fibers. Bananas provide more beneficiary additions that outweigh what apples can provide because they have many more vitamins and nutrients. The lower and middle class society can benefit greatly from long preserved bananas, not needing to buy as much as they would normally, as it can simply store shelf for much longer until they eat it. Wet market sellers would also be able to keep them in display and for sale for much longer instead of having to beat a timer of when banana will often ripen and thus have much less interest.
Apple shelf life can take up to 6 to 8 weeks, while bananas, once a banana are ripe, they should retain freshness for about 2 to 3 days in the pantry or about a week in the fridge. When it comes to cut bananas, they last in good condition for 3 to 4 days in the fridge, but not least dried bananas. In this experiment, we will combine the shelf characteristics of apple and banana. Why? Because banana is the one of the most nutritious food that you can only take in limited quantity. Many bananas are wasted because of its shelf life. If you add apple shelf life, it can slow the process of rotting and save millions of bananas wasted day by day.
Genetically modified foods impact our society is it can help us, especially the farmers, to reduce their environmental footprint by allowing them to use fewer inputs and enabling a shift to reduce tillage. These practices have led to less time spent in a tractor, less fuel use, and fewer emissions. And thus we will eat genetically modified foods can help our body to have more vitamins taken from the food that we eat. Genetically modified food can help the environment in a sense that it helps the farmers to control weeds without damaging the crop. When farmers use these herbicide-tolerant crops, they do not need to till the soil, which they normally do to get rid of weeds. This no-till planting helps to maintain soil health, lower fuel and labor use. Modifying foods such as apples and bananas can make a new variety of fruit. We can do it by genetic modification. By doing this, we can improve the characteristics of the fruit, like enhance its nutrients composition, food quality, resistance to pests and diseases, greater food security, and medical benefits to the world's growing population.
So today, we are going to talk about bananas and apple. First, what is apple? Apple is an edible fruit produced by an apple tree. Apples are mainly composed of carbs and water. They are rich in simple sugars such as fructose, sucrose, and glucose. Next, banana. A banana is an elongated edible fruit, botanically a berry produced by several kinds of large herbaceous flowering plants in the genus Musa. Apples and bananas are distinguished by their size, texture, and flavor. Apple bananas are stout and plump with a thick toothed peel. The light cream-colored flesh texture is firm when young, growing to be tender and creamy when ripe. When young, the apple banana is both tangy and sweet with apple nonsense. What are apples and bananas good for? A banana a day keeps the doctor away. Banana health benefits far outweigh those of the apple. That's because they have many more vitamins and nutrients than their round counterparts. Bananas have twice as many carbohydrates, 5 times as much vitamin A and iron, 3 times as much phosphorus as apple.
The effects of a longer-lived family of apples could potentially allow farmers and vendors alike to keep them fresh and unspoiled for much longer than normal. Wet market vendors would be able to keep them in display and for sale for a longer time period for it not spoiling longer, whether it be refrigerated or not, instead of having to chase a time period of when the bananas will over-ripen and thus not be given as much interest by buyers. The lower and middle class people who cannot afford will also benefit greatly as the long shelf life will allow them to store the apples without having to eat them immediately, thus lessening their need to buy more than they can afford. In addition to this, if this type of apple is successful, its demand and supply can rise drastically and provide better export and sales for the economy as a whole.